Hello, I'm Kevin Benedict, Senior Vice President of Solution Strategy here at Regalix. I want to thank everyone out there for joining us. Today we're here in downtown London near the Holborn Station. I'm here with Ness Digital Engineering. And I want to introduce Mark Lister, the Chief Digital Officer here at Ness, and Peter Rogers. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Good to see you again, Kevin.
Absolutely.
It's been a while.
We've got history, and it was good history.
Oh, we're still here.
We've done some epic road trips.
We have.
Edinburgh, all over, and had a lot of fun. So I'm here today specifically to talk to you guys about your own transformation. So, you know, Ness as a consulting company, as a strategy company, as an engineering company, you guys have, as we all do in the services sector, we need to look at what our customers are asking us to do and always try to keep aligned with the changing behaviors of our customers. So how have you guys kind of digitally transformed your own experience here?
Okay, do you want me to take that? I think historically we worked for a long time in the product engineering space where with software companies were writing a product, quite long release cycles, chunked up pieces of work. That suddenly became a lot more agile, requirements were changing. People were looking for a service rather than a whole physical product, and more importantly, enterprises were looking to deliver their own revenue generating solutions and platforms.
Almost
out
new
to
business
the market.
models.
Very much new business models. So we moved from being a hardcore engineering firm. We brought in a lot of product designers, product owners. So we're now part of the full journey, so we can help people design the right product, and then engineers will build it, but without that gap in the middle where who designed this, who specified that. So that's been our evolving life cycle.
Can I pick up something there? I think you're moving towards there is about collaboration. Historically, companies knew their requirements. Now you can dig into how they knew or what they knew, and maybe they didn't know, but I think they're now much more open in this fast moving world. We've got to change something, we've got to experiment in that country, we've got to make more money out of our data, we've got to iterate on our product cycle and change our business model. Maybe it's not $100 a year, maybe it's $5 a month, whatever version of that. They're looking for companies like us to take that challenge and help them experiment, all about getting new features and models to market quickly to let the market decide, is that working, should it be changed? So we get a lot fewer 200 pages of requirements these days, because who's got time to write those, and who is authoritative enough to actually write them for a 5 or 10 year roadmap? Which companies are going to be around that long, because it's changing the S&P 500 every few years, isn't it? We now get much more of a, here's a page, what can we do in 2 months to sort of supercharge this area and excite our investors or our CEO, and let's see where it takes us, right? So it's a lot more about innovation, and it's fun.
So as a services company though, that shakes your model too. I mean, over the years, you had to look at it and say, okay, that's a whole different model of delivery. So what did you guys have to change, and walk me through your experience and process?
I think one of the things we learned was that where we have to focus ourselves. So we went through a process over the last 12 months really of saying, you know, where are we really good? Let's look at the business areas where we've really got value to add for our clients. And another perspective is standard industrial classification, as has just gone away.
Okay.
So let's pick the areas where we're really good, where we have experience, where we have clients who will reference us, and it really split into two. One, where the sort of men interacting with the built environment, so that's smart machinery, it's smart cars, it's smart cities. And we've worked for many years with the people who invented sat-nav. We work extensively in the active safety arena and the telemetry area. So we really understand smart cars. We know nothing about gearboxes, and we would not call ourselves automotive, but that particular piece we understand. Similarly with smart machinery, how you collect and massage and build up all the data, so then the one data scientist you need can then say, based upon this data, the remaining useful life of this big chunk of industrial engineering is X. This is my condition-based lifing algorithms that give me those predictions. So it's all about creating the data, shaping the data such that then your one data scientist can do his or her magic.
Maybe I'll just pick up a summary of all of that. The core strength we have there is in, playing with data, finding insight, intelligence, and pointing the way forward through data. And we find that a lot of the, maybe we call them traditional companies who operate in that space, manufacturers, people who build turbines and machines and cars, well, then they now have to be open to a more iterative, innovative way of working, where previously they've been very linear and long time scales and secretive. They're having to open up to partnerships, collaborations, like working and playing with different business models. So they're having their changes, and we're finding, opportunities, because our specialism in this case, like structuring data, finding intelligence in data, is something that they've never had to consider before. And we're bringing, experienced design to study the workflows, a day in the life of a packet of data. How much is that data worth? How do you organize it? And best of all, how do you potentially turn it into a kind of adjacent service that someone else might pay for? Maybe even a B2B opportunity that's so far away from their core mindset of like building a car. It's different, and it fits neatly with this world we see in front of us of GM partnering with Lyft, and then the Maven, and then they're selling rides rather than selling cars. It's tumult out there, right?
Oh yeah, I can
for
see
everyone.
When there's a lot of wind and there's a lot of electricity, maybe it communicates with all the buildings and the homes around it about their energy needs and their energy uses. Or if there's less energy, maybe, all this, they can talk together and work as a system instead of individually overproducing electricity when it's not needed and all that kind of fun stuff too. So do you see, are verticals dissolving because of data, and you're looking at data services rather than verticals?
Yeah,
absolutely. And the other, we talked about the, man-machine piece. The other side is how we do business with each other. So everybody is now dealing in digital content, monetizing it, selling it, buying it. We've a lot of experience in content management, rights management, play out. So we really understand that space, and the full life cycle of engagement with a client. Heavily regulated area now, GDPR, etc., etc. How do I find a client? How do I engage with that client, be it an individual, be it a company? What are the services I'm offering throughout the life cycle? And how do I think one of the things that frustrates us as consumers is I go online, wonderful website, looks great, I then go to the store and they say, oh, well, no, we haven't got a sale on, that's just the online store's got a sale. Well, can I buy it from you? No. Well, can you tell me if you've got any in stock? No. Okay, that's great. It's a good experience, thank you. Translate that to what it should be. I go online, I like that, but I want to try it on. Where is it available? Okay, it'll be in Wimbledon in 2 days' time. And by the way, there's a size bigger, a size smaller, a couple of colorways. You go in, try it on, the ones you don't want, you leave. Full visibility of stock.
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy rather than, oh no. Or, see, I'll go on the website and check. Well, I didn't do that.
Right.
I didn't come into your store to find that out, thank you.
So come on, let's just abstract what that symbolises. Some really fundamental principles, right? The internet have changed everything in the last 20 years because of complete transparency on price, on stock, on availability, on choice. And these businesses, all of them, of course they have to be omni-channel and they have to be synchronized and efficient. But really what it comes down to is being, I mean, it's almost cliche to say it, right? But to be truly customer-centric, you have to remember what it's like to be a customer, think of what you do as a buyer on the internet, finding things, have complete empathy with that choice, and how do you stand out? And these days it's not about glossy advertising or a complete kind of belief in your own product. That's important, of course. You want to believe in what you're selling, but it's to understand the context with which a viewer is absorbing that, all the other things in their life. You've got to understand that, and that's where I think intelligent digital partnerships, take place, and just understanding the lifestyle of that consumer and your role in it. And it's no longer a bunch of decisions someone makes about where do I buy my groceries, where do I buy my entertainment, and somewhere in there, Amazon Alexa voice, I mean, it's new and who knows it will last and where it will change, but it does change everything if the screen is not around to direct you and behind the scenes kind of nudge you.
And you don't have to have 18 apps behind it. No, you can just talk to Alexa and she will figure it out.
Right. Well, then there's an element of trust, and where are they pushing me, right? Which sounds a bit like Amazon doing Google shopping results, and who do you trust anymore? And a massive issue, right?
Yeah.
And what do you know about me, and how do you know that about me? But then you weigh off that with how fast and seamless and easy and competitive is the service that I'm getting, seemingly at the drop of a hat, so I can get on with my busy life.
I think there's the point you raised about privacy and who's doing what. I think there's a big issue that we're all facing up as individuals and as companies now is all around what is my identity in the digital world. If I want to buy a bottle of wine to send to a friend as a gift, I have to be 18 to buy that bottle of wine online. But why do I have to tell whoever is going to sell that bottle of wine my entire life history?
Right.
I want to be credentialed to say, you, Mr. Vendor, know that I am 18 and my credit is good.
That's all you need
That's
to know.
all you need to know.
Yeah.
I signed up, I have a bank account with Bank X. I've done the KYC, I've done the verification, I've done all of that. I want to now move my account to another bank. Why do I have to go through that whole process? Somebody should have credentialed me to say, yes, this person is a known, trusted entity. You don't have to go through that whole process again. So that, who you are, I know it's now the witness protection program, so if you've read this, the vast majority of people who go into witness protection programs get found out, and in some countries, get shot. Simply because, well, what do they do? Oh, they log on to Facebook and see what their mates are doing with their new identity.
It's only 6 steps to Kevin Bacon.
Exactly. So this whole, my role in society as an individual, as a business, as a, father, as all these roles.
Yes.
At the moment, people either know not enough about me or way, way too much about me. So I should be able to choose what I will expose in whatever situation. And I think that big picture is going to change a lot of the ways we build and frame conversations.
Right, and we see those differences in different countries. Geographies treat privacy differently. We're doing a lot of work in kind of smart commerce and payments. Pete's talking there a little bit about tokenization and what can get me from A to B to C without giving away A to C, and these different relationships, which has an even more profound effect in some of that ecosystem I'm talking about of partnership.
Right.
Who knows what, and am I truly in control of what I do? But opportunities for us in working with some of these companies as this emerging sector innovates, but also for brands to distinguish themselves maybe at a higher price point, who say some of that money goes towards this incredibly protective infrastructure that you can count on. And
I'm willing to pay more, a certain number of points more, because I actually don't want anybody else to know what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's not because it's anything dodgy. It's just I do not want to expose everything I do to the entire world the whole time. So at the moment, the old story about if you think the product is free, you are the product.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true.
That
so
is absolutely.
If you want all the advantages of the data mining that does the product recommendations for me, how do I get the product recommendations without them knowing where I am, where I'm driving, how fast am I going, my purchase history for the last 10 years.
This is reminding me of the senator who asked Mark Zuckerberg how Facebook makes money, right? He was a little bit
absolutely. So let me ask you this, guys. If the vertical, kind of vertical silos of industries are kind of collapsing, are there more kind of new emerging digital platforms where you can almost go into any situation where there's a big digital transformation effort and know, okay, there's certain new kinds of digital platforms. We talked about ServiceNow.
Yeah.
Where
I think that's the classic example. I mean, historically we've built products and platforms on top of, it might be Java, or it might be .NET, or then I'm using Salesforce to handle all this piece and I'll just add my uniques on the side of that. But if you look at something like ServiceNow, which has kind of said, well, every set of business processes involves lots of interactions with disparate IT systems that we own, that live in the cloud, or third party.
Right.
So anything that makes it easy to build those connections and thread the workflow together, and maybe you've got an alfresco content management source in the middle of it, but we're now building platforms on top of a range of building blocks. Nobody would build a new content management system or a new CRM or a new content play-out capability from scratch anymore, because there's pieces out there, but it's having the smarts and the people talk about microservice architectures and all that good stuff, but it's really saying it's not buy versus build, it's assemble and add your value add in the middle by building in the smarts that are unique to your business. And so we see the way our designers and our solution architects are building systems for our clients is changing very, very dramatically.
And as Pete said there, focus on the thing that's unique to you and that you're best at, but potentially outsource everything else. And a company like ServiceNow, helping you with your IT asset management or your HR function, has the benefit of having done that at 2,000 companies.
Yes.
Now, every company thinks they're unique, but in these areas they're not unique at all. We see this the similar pattern. I mean, the top 10 investment banks are building, they might use Bloomberg for certain things, but potentially they're getting together to work out some of that themselves on chat platforms like Symphony. Potentially looking at grocery change here in the UK, but it'll happen other places. It's very hard for them, that last mile delivery, to operate all of the independent truck network. Could they outsource that to the likes of Uber Eats or Deliveroo? Yes. And last mile delivery comes up again and again in places that could just go across the piece and offer a white label platform to do it. These are all changes. And just to pick back to one thing you said, I don't think verticals are necessarily crashing down. I think the edges between them are dissolving, because of course some strong players, I mentioned GM earlier, they've got a chance as big as anyone because of their history, their reputation, their knowledge of their own customers, to become the forefront and the new model and the new monthly renting travel basis. Yes. It's just they can't just sit back and protect what they have and assume it'll always be thus, because it won't.
And there are still strong barriers to entry. I mean, car manufacturers, people say, oh well, it's all going to be Google and Uber and blah, blah, blah. Tesla are understanding now as we speak, it's actually very hard to build lots of cars. To build one a day is easy. To build 10 a day is pretty easy. To build 1,000 a day is hard.
Yes.
So people do have niche skills. Companies have niche skills, but it's all about focusing on your knitting. This bit is where I'm going to really be important, and everybody else will play doing their pieces. So it's having structures that enable you to link to lots of different players and have different models.
So you can respond to changing markets, changing consumer behaviors as fast as you possibly can in an agile environment.
In the UK today, we heard about the high street is threatened every which way, right?
Yep.
The traditional, and the same in the US with strip malls and shopping malls, right? So we have these big anchor department stores historically, which are definitely under threat, and the combination of business rates going up, and they have to pay people minimum wages and treat them humanely. Certain things that Amazon does
Which is good, it has to be said.
Does not, but they'll always argue that the online players don't have those same kind of costs associated with them. But does that mean they all sink and we left Amazon and no shops to walk into? Or somewhere along the line, Marks and Spencer's potentially, could they appear on Amazon and get Amazon to do their last mile delivery once again? Just thought there, maybe Tesla's production line worries could be in partnership with GM, who knows, right? But things will be different in 5 years than they are now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for sharing your experience, your insight, your brilliance with all of us out there. I mean, because you guys are talking to customers every day, and I want to just encourage the audience, pay attention to these guys, because the content we're talking about is leading edge. It's out there. You guys are seeing it every day. You're having these kind of brainstorming sessions with industries all over. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank Peter. I want to thank Mark for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you.